There's no excuse. UFC boss Dana White issues groveling apology as he fights for his job amid calls for his resignation after he was filmed drunkenly hitting his wife of 26 years in the face during their Cabo vacation, which, by the way, we're going to be checking out the video, right? So, UFC boss Dana White today issued a groveling apology after a video emerged of him slapping his wife of 26 years in the face during an argument in a nightclub on New Year's Eve. Which, by the way, right, that slap that he did is like, bah, like it was hard. It was a hard slap. White 53 said there is no excuse for hitting his wife Anne, who he shares 3 children with, during their drunk-fueled vacation in Cabo San Lucas. The father of 3 said he was embarrassed by his behavior as scores of fans called for him to resign from his role as president of the UFC for slapping his wife. White, who has an estimated worth of $500 million after building the UFC up into a global money spending franchise, told TMZ during his apology, "You don't put your hands on a woman ever." Now, here's the thing, right? And I'm going to mention this in the video too because I've already seen the video. But here's the thing. In my opinion, personally, there's basically two instances where it is, in my opinion, reasonable for a guy to do that. One, if you're defending yourself from that individual. Two, if you're trying to defend another person from that individual, right? So in both of those situations, you're not the attacker, you are the victim and or trying to save a victim. The problem with this situation, right, which by the way, again, we're going to go into the video, the way it basically is structured, Dana White gets slapped by his wife, then he slaps back. Which, if it ended like that, in my opinion, not good either way, but that would have been like a reactionary type of thing, which again still isn't that great of a thing to happen. But if it stopped there, that would have been okay. You were basically kind of like just reacting to it, defending yourself. The real issue is that they basically like he pretty much beat her down, right? Now she might have like reacted again, tried to hit him again after that, but he was basically just beating on her, according to the video, which again we're gonna check out. So let's actually go full screen. Hold on, is this one? Wait, yeah, let's go. It should be this. Okay, yeah. Turn the volume off. Here we go. Full screen. They're doing something drunk. He basically says something, tries to touch her, and it pisses her off. She slaps him, and then he just starts slapping her down. And just like a bat, 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 all the way down to the ground, basically. And then he gets basically pushed away from her and all that kind of stuff. And she gets pushed away from him. Like, it's pretty crazy, right? It's pretty insane. And they keep basically going at it and still gets pushed away from each other and whatnot, right? Now, the real issue to me, right, which again, none of this is good. The real issue to me is just how brazen both of them were with laying their hands on one another. It's like, hey, if your relationship is so toxic that you are willing to do something like this in public, what on earth is happening behind the scenes, right? You both need to like leave each other, right? Because that is not a good situation. That is not a healthy situation at all. Okay? So this is one of those situations that is horrible. I am embarrassed. We have 3 kids, and since the video popped up, we have shown the kids, and we are more focused on our family right now. And also, like the thing is, and this is sad to say, but if they're willing to do that to one another, what are they willing to do to their kids? Which is like a pretty effed up thing to say, but it's like, hey, if you don't even have the line to not harm the person that you're married to, I wouldn't put it past any of you to do that to your kid. So people are going to have their opinions on this, and people's opinions would be right, especially in my case. You don't put your hands on a woman ever. And again, in my personal opinion, there's 2 instances where I could understand it. So his wife Anne told the news outlet to say this is out of character for him is an understatement. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Now, I find it interesting that she says that because she also didn't say it was out of character for her to slap him like that because she slapped him full force in the face, right? Like full force. Same thing with him. He did it the same thing to her after she initially slapped him. So that's it. Unfortunately, we were both drinking too much on New Year's Eve and things got out of control on both sides. We've talked this through as a family and apologized to each other. Now, White is facing calls to step down from his role as president of the UFC. One person tweeted Dana White should immediately resign and never be seen again. He literally slapped his wife on camera. Imagine what he does behind closed doors. Now, here's the thing. In my opinion, is basically like, hey, she slapped him so brazenly. He slapped her so brazenly. What on earth are those two doing behind closed doors that is like over the top? Because if this is not over the top for them, what is? You know? Another tweeted appalling Dana White needs to be charged with assault and immediately resign from UFC. Violence against women is never okay. And the footage of White slapping his wife comes as a 2014 interview resurfaced in which he claimed you can never bounce back from putting your hands on a woman. In the 2014 interview, White was reacting to a video of former Baltimore Ravens running back Ray Rice abusing his wife. Speaking to Fox Sports Live at the time, White said it's a tough one. First of all, the video is horrifying, absolutely horrifying. You're talking about a guy who's been in the fight business since he was 19 years old. It is the most disturbing thing you will ever see. The thing that's just as bad as the punch is that he shows no remorse after he does it, you know? If you did something in anger and you go, oh my god, what did I do? There's none of that with this guy. I don't know all the ins and outs of what Roger Goodell did or knew or how it was handled, but it's definitely bad. I can tell you this. I wouldn't want to be Roger Goodell. We've been human beings and letting these guys, other guys, make up for what they've done and come back. There's one thing that you never bounce back from, and that's putting your hands on a woman. Been that way in the UFC since we started here. You don't bounce back from putting your hands on a woman unless you know you are, I don't know, John Jones, you know, and apparently Dana White. White's marriage has largely been shielded from the public, although his mother, June, wrote in a salacious 2011 book that he had turned his back on his family and friends who were there for him when he needed help and support. And Dana and Anne reportedly met in 8th grade in Nevada, and although he would move back and forth between the Las Vegas area and Maine, the two dated in high school prior to their 1996 marriage. Their courtship came during a difficult time in White's life as he dropped out of 2 colleges and held a string of low-paying jobs laying asphalt and working as a bouncer. He would ultimately start a gym in the Boston area but returned to Las Vegas after allegedly being threatened by the notorious mobster White Bulger and his associate Kevin Weeks. Yeah, okay, whatever. So everything else is just kind of like extra stuff. But like, here's the thing. Feel free to give your thoughts on this. Feel free to give your own personal opinion. Again, my personal opinion, there's really only two kind of justifiable potentially situations where you're either defending yourself from that girl or you're defending someone from that girl. And in my opinion, those are like the two main ways that it's kind of okay to do that. It's not really good either way because you're probably massively stronger than that individual and whatnot. But the thing is, and this is a problem that I see a lot of times, there's a lot of women that go around in life thinking that they could just lay hands on like any guy that they basically see. The problem with that is that you're going to interact with a guy who literally does not see you any different than a guy, even though you're a girl. Like, that's the reality. Like, there's guys that exist out there that, morally speaking, they do not care about you at all. They don't think that you should be protected at all. There's guys that exist like that, and they will treat you the same way as if a guy were to have slapped them, right? Because there's a lot of guys that if they got slapped by another guy would just point blank fight them on the spot right there. And some of those guys that are willing to do that would also do the same thing if a girl laid hands on them. So if you're a girl, be very careful when you slap a guy because it just takes them one hit to do massive amounts of damage to you. Like, be very, very careful because you might think that it's okay for you to slap a guy, but the reality is it only takes one guy to react extremely badly to that slap to where maybe you're not functioning normally anymore. Like, you gotta be extremely careful, right? So it's just something to really think about too. Because in the video, she did slap him first, but he slapped her hard back and slapped her again and again. So it's a bad situation.